person, and we miss her.
To have potentially killed her mother, father, sister, brother is extremely bizarre.
This is Roksana Sikorski. She was given a 10 to 20-year prison term by a court for her role in the 2014 murder plot against her adoptive family, which also injured one of her brothers. Despite the adoptive mother of Roksana Sikorski's request for mercy, the court sentenced the 17-year-old. Roksana and her then-boyfriend, Michael Rivera, allegedly planned to murder her family members and flee together, according to Wayne County Prosecutor Kim Worthy. Rivera is accused of instructing Roksana while she was inside her Plymouth Township home by sending her text messages with instructions and photographs from outside. Sikorski is accused of stabbing her 12-year-old brother and attempting to attack her younger sister with a knife. Rivera followed her as she left the area. Roksana previously entered a guilty plea to assault with the intent to kill. Roksana's mother spoke in court at her sentencing hearing in order to defend her daughter, claiming that Roksana had been duped and used by an older guy.
Roxy was misled and used by an older adult. However, nothing will benefit this child by sending her to jail.
She said that she does not want her to go to prison, but rather that she should be treated well and be let go back home and complete her education. She will miss her graduation, the prom at her high school, and her friends and family. She is in dire need of ongoing psychiatric assistance. She is making an effort to remain upbeat and hopeful, according to her mother, Laureen Sikorski.
Roksana is now 17 years old. She will miss her high school prom, her graduation, her friends, and her family. She is in desperate need of continued psychological help.
Roksana also stood up to express her regret to her family for the suffering she had brought them.
I would like to apologize to my family for not being the daughter they wished I would be. And I promise that I will get better no matter what happens. And I will see Lucas and Angelica again. I'm sorry.
This is Vonda Starr Smith. A pregnant lady's death was caused in part by her. Vonda Starr Smith of Afton, Tennessee, was found guilty of first-degree murder and second-degree murder in the 2016 deaths of a pregnant 21-year-old woman and her unborn child. She was given a life sentence for first-degree murder and a maximum of 25 years for second-degree murder.
You will have an effective sentence of life imprisonment.
In order to add a second murder allegation against Smith, the prosecution claims that Jessie Morrison died from blunt force trauma and was pregnant at the time of her death. On August 12, 2016, Morrison's corpse was found in Afton next to Judd Neal Loop on the side of the road. According to reports, one of Morrison's 2 live children has Smith as a grandma. Gene Scott, Smith's attorney, and the state presented their mitigation and enhancement arguments before Judge John F. Duggar Jr. Scott urged the court for the second-degree murder charges 15-year minimum sentence. Smith, he said, had a little criminal history. She worked at the same place of employment for 28 years until being found guilty of writing worthless checks in 1993. 3 people who are familiar with Smith testified in her favor.
That she just isn't a good person, and we miss her,
said Jessica Price, a former co-worker. Smith, who had tears streaming down her face during the witness evidence, was sentenced by Judge Duggar, who took a number of things into consideration. The court claims that given the fetus's age and vulnerability, a lethal weapon was used in the murder since Morrison suffered blunt force damage. According to Duggar, some type of object was used to cause severe lacerations to her skull and a fracture in the top of her skull.
Severe lacerations to her skull and fracture in the top of her skull.
He said that Smith had betrayed Morrison's confidence. He said that just before the murder, she got into Smith's automobile. She put her and her children's lives in your hands, since you were all there together and she trusted you rather than a stranger. Awful things transpired, leading to this murder, he stated.
She trusted being with you as opposed to being with a stranger. And bad things happened. This murder happened after that.
For first-degree murder, Judge Duggar granted Smith a life sentence in prison, and for second-degree murder, she received the maximum penalty. You will effectively be serving a life sentence in jail. You become notorious for having committed a crime. Jesse's mother, Tammy Morrison, took the witness stand after the sentence.
There's not enough justice on this earth that can bring my daughter back or my grandchild. My biggest consolation is she will never see her grandchild again.
I know what I've done. I'm so sorry.
This is Sandra Layne, a 75-year-old Detroit area lady who was found guilty of murdering her 17-year-old grandson, has been named in a lawsuit for wrongful death that is seeking at least $1 million in damages. A representative of Jonathan Hoffman's estate recently filed a lawsuit against Sandra Layne and her husband Fred Layne, 86, in Oakland County Circuit Court. According to Layne's lawyer, Jerome Sabata, he is not shocked by the case, as reported by the Detroit Free Press and the Detroit News. Sabata points out that Layne's husband was not prosecuted for the murder. In 2012, Hoffman was wounded 6 times in West Bloomfield Township, twice in the back. During a physical fight, Layne claimed that she had shot him out of fear. However, a jury rejected her claim of self-defense and found her guilty of second-degree murder. Layne is presently incarcerated after being given a minimum 22-year jail term. Sandra Layne received a mandatory 2-year term in addition to a minimum sentence of 20 years for the second-degree murder of Jonathan Hoffman, a 17-year-old. There were no indications that Hoffman had hurt Layne, according to the prosecution. A crucial piece of evidence that jurors repeatedly listened to during their deliberations in April of 2013 was a tape of a 911 call that captures him being shot once again as he begs for assistance.
911, what's your emergency?
I've just been shot.
Where? Who?
I've just been shot.
Where are you at?
My grandma shot me. I'm gonna die. Help.
Judge Denise Langford Morris focused on it as well, questioning why Layne didn't just contact the police if she was in a hopeless situation. Grandmothers are meant to guard. How could you continue firing, and why did you keep doing it? Morris inquired. You weren't required to keep firing. Those bullets had hollow points and were designed to have a catastrophic effect.
If you really felt in a need to shoot, why did you keep shooting it?
Layne wept when speaking to the court in a lengthy, meandering speech, her belly chains and handcuffs drooping over her little frame's orange prison uniform. I apologize for what I did. I sincerely apologize to everyone I have offended. She begged Morris not to let her die in jail, saying, "Sorry is too little a word." Jennifer Hoffman, Layne's daughter, pleaded with the court to be unforgiving. She plotted, stalked, and killed my kid in his bedroom with no compassion. Jennifer Hoffman said,
Sandra Layne is pure evil, and if given the opportunity, would surely kill again.
This is Bani Duarte. For her part in a drunk driving accident in Huntington Beach that killed 3 Las Vegas area teenagers while they were on spring break, she was given a life sentence of 51 years to life.
Young kids, including my 17-year-old daughter, they got a life sentence, so I think she deserves a life sentence.
In the March 2018 collision, Bani Duarte had already been found guilty of 3 murder charges and 1 count of drunk driving. She rear-ended another vehicle that was stopped at a red light while traveling at a high rate of speed on the Pacific Coast Highway, forcing it into a pole. All 3 of the teenagers perished at the site when their car caught fire. A fourth passenger in the vehicle had permanent injuries. The 29-year-old's blood alcohol level was 4 times the legal limit. If you drink and drive and kill, you will be charged with murder, if we can prove it, said Todd Spitzer, the district attorney for Orange County. The 17 and 18-year-olds, Brooke Hawley, Dylan Mack, and A.J. Rossi, who were scheduled to get their high school diplomas later that year, were recognized by family members and acquaintances. As pictures of the victims' departed loved ones were shown on a screen in court, the relatives of the victims reminisced. Obviously, it's been the toughest thing we've ever had to do. Thank God the judge was on our side and did the right thing, because she took the lives of 3 adorable babies, said Allie Rossi, a victim's sister.
You're an ugly, heartless, cold monster, and that's all you'll ever be.
Duarte addressed the audience at the sentencing session and begged for forgiveness. I plead for a chance to be able to see my kids again, she cried as she added, at this point, I don't even know who's going to raise my children, or if I'll ever be able to embrace them again or console them. Nobody except myself is at fault. I accept full accountability.
I just want to say that I'm truly sorry, and maybe one day you will forgive me.
The court noted that this was not Duarte's first run-in with the law as a result of drunk driving. Just before imposing the punishment, she had been arrested for DUI once before, but she was never found guilty. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, be sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you in the next one.